Kawhi Leonard during media days making a lot of rounds where he just kind of was oblivious to the new rest rules. But that's like the lightest part of the whole conversation. A lot of the media members missed out the fact that he called out most of the NBA players throughout the league, imitating him by acting like they had an injury. But of course, in this new clickbait landscape that we live in, the media just went along with the soundbite of just Kawhi not knowing the new rest policy. Because ever since he had that quadricep injury he had with the Spurs, it's been pretty much downhill. Guy's barely been there. He played about 60 games for the Raptors. And ever since back-to-backs, he's really not playing them at all. But before we get to Kawhi's soundbite during the presser, you're going to hear the fact that he does call out NBA players imitating him. He's not there just to watch. He actually has an injury, which is true. But unfortunately for him and Paul George, the referendum is in on these guys, especially with these new cap rules approaching. Kawhi has been extension eligible since July and Paul George in September. And I'm pretty sure while going through negotiations with Steve Ballmer, they're not exactly in the driver's seat. And make no mistake about it, Steve Ballmer, you know, he's always acting like, oh, he's so down for Kawhi, so down for PG-13. But at the end of the day, when these owners had sat down and they didn't even need the Players Association to vote on these team punishments for resting players, best believe Steve Ballmer was definitely on the side of the owners with that. But let's get to the Kawhi soundbite and see what he had to say.
Fox 11. Would love to hear your thoughts on the new NBA player participation policy.
What are they?
Just, you know, I know that you've gotten a lot of flack for, you know, load management and just, you know.
Kawhi has never participated in load management. He actually has a hip injury. And this is sort of the sentiment he tries to get across. He's definitely annoyed during this presser.
Only resting certain players, you know, in certain situations. So just would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I just don't know the policy. Like, what is the policy though? Just
okay. I'm going to ask you a different question if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. No, it's totally okay. Just would love to know how you're feeling, if you did anything different.
Yo, Kawhi is interesting because the media does not understand Kawhi at all. Players like him, they don't understand what ticked them off, especially in this social media era where guys kind of put their whole lives on Front Street, their insecurities, things that they like, things that they're into. Kawhi does none of that, and it throws the media off. Unlike KD, they don't know his weak points, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Kawhi, it seems like he's pretty much secure in himself. During this presser, Kawhi Leonard did call out other players throughout the league who just go through load management, end up playing the next game. But it just went over everyone's head because it's just the way he said it.
It's basketball. I'm a two-way player. Play hard, so injuries are going to come up. I'm not out there just walking around. I play both ends of the floor. I see the best players on both ends every night. I'm a meniscus, and I mean, that's just it's basketball. I'm a two-way player. Well, at least me. I'm not trying to get to a certain amount of games. I'm trying to play the games that I can play. But if I'm hurt, I can't play basketball. So the last 2 years been unfortunately for me. I got hurt, tore my ACL. Then at the end of the year, tore my meniscus. And I mean, that's just it's basketball. I'm a two-way player. Play hard, so injuries are going to come up. I'm not out there just walking around. I play both ends of the floor. I see the best players on both ends every night. Either I'm guarding the best player or the best player is guarding me. So whatever happens with that, if injury comes, that's what happens. I'm in NBA.
Kawhi right there letting a lot of media members know he's not like the rest of these guys. He actually plays defense. But during this presser, Kawhi is reaching that irritation point with the questions about load management.
League policy, I think the gist of it is that they want their top 50 stars out on the floor every night if possible. And given that, I'm just wondering if you feel an obligation to play every game.
No, I mean, I'm not a guy that's sitting down because I'm doing a load management. Like, well, when I was with the Raptors, it was different. Like, I was coming from an injury, and you have to know the details of a doctor. But if the league is seeing or trying to mock what I did with the Raptors, and they should stop because I was injured during that whole year. But other than that, if I'm able to play, I'll play basketball.
He said if the league continues to mock him, he's talking about the rest of the players. The league is mocking him, thinking his load management is not. I'm going to play that one more time. He's talking about the players when he says the league. He's not talking about the front office just kind of, making fun of him, coming up with these rules. He's talking about the rest of the players.
Like, I was coming from an injury, and you have to know the details of a doctor. But if the league is seeing or trying to mock what I did with the Raptors, then they should stop because I was injured during that whole year. But other than that, if I'm able to play, I'll play basketball.
Surprisingly, during media day, they didn't have Kawhi elaborate more on that statement that he made right there when he referred to other players just imitating him. Because with the quadricep injury he had when he was in Toronto, he still ended up playing 60 games. But just the back-to-backs were super limited or almost non-existent. But the only flaw Kawhi and PG-13 in this whole Clippers fiasco was actually not taking advantage of the bubble. The bubble in 2020 was their moment to win a championship. Due to circumstances of injuries outside of their control, they just never had another opportunity to get in that same position to be very close to win a championship. That bubble was just, it was their shot. They were healthy. Just the lack of focus, maybe nobody wanted to be in that bubble. Guys wanted out. As we see Lou Williams, a lot of like long 10-year Clipper guys, they were off that team after that. Patrick Beverly, and they all stated just there was a lack of focus. And that really was their opportunity. So if Steve Ballmer is kind of hesitant about giving these guys their money, it really comes down to that, just that was a complete fuck up. And they just haven't had another opportunity since. And with this new CBA kicking in, Steve Ballmer has Kawhi and PG both with player options entering to 2024-25. I don't know if PG-13 and Kawhi are going to be in the driver's seat renegotiating. And I'm not sure Steve Ballmer, especially with the cap hit, spending a lot of money, it has nothing to do with it. The league just restrains you from making any moves if you're over $17 million over the cap.